Hey guys, on this episode of the One Percenter podcast, I have none other than the Ed Mylett in the house. Now look, me and Ed have known each other for like 15, 20 years. And you know, this episode is gonna absolutely blow you away. But how crazy it is that someone like him, who's like multiple central millionaire, like look, he's worth about $500 million. And some people say all that these kind of numbers, but I've actually seen his bank account. He's shown me his bank account. So, you know, he's the real deal. But imagine him, you know, having his car repossessed, have his house foreclosed on, having his wife shower, his family shower in a pool area because they had their water turned down. You know, he went through everything in life, and now he has a private jet. He has homes worth 25, 35, 45, $50 million homes that he lives in. I've been in their homes. You know what? His story is going to inspire you. And the man is just so humble. The guy has, you know, he has every reason to be so cocky. He's so humble. And I've seen him evolve over the years. He's such a great man. You do not want to miss the episode. It's one of the best ones. All right, Ed. So we're going to get right to it. All right.
Okay.
How do we make money? So if a young entrepreneur that, you know, we have a bunch of young entrepreneurs right now standing here, my camera crew and everybody, they want to know, hey, how do you make money?
Well, that's a complicated question. The first thing that I've seen, so I have a show just like this, you know, where I've interviewed a bunch of different people. The one thing that I've noticed with the entrepreneurs that I know that have had a breakthrough is, number one, it's bizarre, but they have a freakish, you and I just talking off camera, they have freakish work ethic. Freakish, like what a normal person thinks. It's like, I think I train pretty hard in the gym. I know for a fact if I trained with you every day, I'd be like, compared to what? So people tell me all the time, man, I'm really working hard. I'm like, compared to what? Compared to an employee? You work like an employee, you're gonna go broke as an entrepreneur. Like you work 3, 4, 5 times. So there's that. Number two is you gotta get intentional about doing it. Most people don't really expect. You get what you expect. Like don't really expect to be successful. I don't think they expect really to make money. And I did, when I was young, man, as an entrepreneur, like I went broke a bunch of times, but I expected to eventually win. And so my thing was outworking everybody. And then the other thing I think last is you got to do something that you're pretty good at. You have to get great at what you do. So I don't care if you're an entrepreneur that has to do with selling or if you're in the fitness space, like you have to be great at it. Like you can't be average and ordinary. You can't be like everybody else. So what distinguishes you? What makes you different than other people? You know, and for me, like I was in the sales business, as you know, for many, many years. Like I had to get great at that in order to excel. So I think people just minimize the amount of work, the expectation of making money, and then how good you really got to get at what you do. You got to be one of the best in the world. You know, Kobe just passed away. You're a big Kobe fan, and I was with Kobe the Sunday before he passed away for 12 hours at a volleyball tournament, right? And he's not Kobe Bryant unless 3 things exist. 1, he outworked everybody. That's like he's notorious for it, right? 4 a.m. workouts. 2, he expected to win. He expected that Mamba mentality, right? I mean, at least that's my observation of the dude. And then 3rd, he was just great. He was just better than you at basketball. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. Same thing applies to being an entrepreneur.
Wow. You know, so a lot of young entrepreneurs right now I talk to, and they're like, you know what? I got to find my passion. I don't understand that myself. I'm like, what do you mean? Do you have a pulse? Like, ever since I was 3 years old, I knew what my passion was.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do you say to someone like that?
I think you're right. Like, and by the way, I know a whole bunch of entrepreneurs that have made a whole bunch of money, not in their passion play either. Like, or not in their giftedness. You may have a passion for baseball. Your passion could be baseball. You may not build a business based around baseball. Maybe you'll make millions of dollars in business and buy a baseball team, right? Not always does your passion play have to be your business, right? And for me, I'm kind of like you, like I'm passionate about my life. I'm passionate about people. So you know, different stages of my life mean different things. For a long time, I was in the financial business. Now, like you and I off camera, we're talking about our bodies and our arteries and our hearts and fitness. So my passions have grown and morphed as my experience and my life has changed. So I don't think you have to have your business be your passion. I think your passion has to be winning. Your passion has to be serving people. Like my specific passion isn't financial services, yet I've made hundreds of millions of dollars in that space. My passion is the people that business helped.
100%.
Right? It's the people, not the actual product all the time.
You know, on some of your interviews, man, you know, you talked about being blissfully dissatisfied. And I can tell you, for years, I was that guy to no matter what markers I hit, no matter what, it wasn't good enough. I was always upset. I was like, what's next? What's next? I would win, but I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't celebrate. I would just,
Yes.
go to the next level.
Yeah.
And when you said blissful or dissatisfied, I literally sat down with myself, had to talk to myself. Well, you know what? I can be satisfied and still be hungry.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I can be thankful
Yes.
and still be hungry. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, I'm real proud of you about that because you and I, most people know, Sam and I have known each other a long time, and I've watched you. I'm more proud of the man than even all the wealth you've accumulated. You know why, Sam, and then I'll answer your question. This version of you affects other people better, whereas when we're just like grinding and we don't ever celebrate, we just kind of, at that time, we're just like kind of making a difference for ourselves. Once it changes, you make a difference for other people. But I was you. Most achievers, when I do my show, people say, what's the thing in common? All these, whether it's J-Lo or Terrell Owens or some great CEO on my show, what do they have in common? I'm like, oh, it's going to surprise you. They're like, what? I go, depression. They're like, what? How are these achievers all depressed, right? And I'm like, they're depressed because achievers have this thing where they're never living up to what they think they're capable of. There's this incongruency. I could be doing this, but I'm only doing this. And that's what makes you great. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I had to learn there's this thing in your brain called dopamine. And if you cheat yourself every time you win out of a celebration, you get no dopamine hit. Eventually your brain goes unconsciously, I don't want to do this anymore. That's burnout. When you meet someone who says, I burnt out, that's someone who's achieved and achieved and achieved and never celebrated. They fry out. Whereas I'm almost 50 years old. I'm more fired up, more excited than I've ever been in my life because in my 40s I changed and I realized there's no correlation between happiness and satisfaction. You can be happy and still dissatisfied. Most people conflate those things. They think happiness and satisfaction are the same thing. They're totally different emotions. I'm a happy, dissatisfied person. I live blissfully, currently dissatisfied with what I can achieve. That changed everything for me. And then the other people, they think, well, I'll be happy when. So if you're not an achiever, their model of the world is, well, I'll be happy when I get a car, when I get the Ferrari, when I get the jet, when I get the big house. And you'll delay it and delay it, except the problem is you got to bring you with you. Once you get to that big house, you're going to be in that mansion with you, and the finish line always moves. So you never freaking get there. And then you could wake up and be careful, because I'm an old man now, some people say. You could wake up at 50 and go, I accumulated stuff and had no happiness. And what the breakthrough was for me, I was building my house in Volano, where you live. Where you live. You live in this.
I know the story. I love it.
I'm building this house, and it's a multi-million-dollar house, probably the most expensive house in there at that time. I'm a young dude grinding, and I'm pissed off this day, man. We didn't get the sales closed, and I'm pissed off. And we walk in where they're building, and all the workers were in my house. And all these dudes working in my house were these beautiful men. Most of them had immigrated from Mexico, probably the majority of them not legally, right? And these dudes weren't making very big money. They left their darn country just to feed their families. They're in my house at 100 degrees in August, working, sweating. They got their music playing. These guys are partying and having a great time. They couldn't have been happier, working on my mansion. And I walk in and I'm like, and I look around, these guys are smiling, hey, Mr. Milet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? These men, if you measured life on happiness, that dude is winning, I'm losing. I'm building the mansion, I'm miserable, he's working in the mansion, and he's winning the life happy game. So I had to fix that.
Right, that story, man, it resonates very well with me because, one, I remember your house. I remember your house, and I remember you had a chandelier that came down.
That's right, that's right.
I remember that. And when I got my house there, I'm like, I want a chandelier
that comes down. That's awesome. And you do, so it's pretty cool.
And so really, here's something I want to ask you personally, because I've seen you also evolve.
Sure.
And one of the things that, I seen you for the first time speak 15 years ago. In Ontario, California, there was like a few thousand people there, and you were speaking, and I get motivated. I'm not that kind of person, to say, well, he thinks he's all that, and he's not. No, you can say whatever you want to say to me, because that's going to lit fire,
Yeah, you are.
And I know at some time when you push people too hard, they kind of resent you. They feel like you were a dick. You know what I mean? And to me, I didn't feel that way. But you said earlier in your career, sometimes that you push people too hard and you were too hard on people, and now you change your ways. And I've changed my ways as well.
Have you? Yeah. Well, by the way, the first time I met you, you don't know. You see, but I was in the gym, and I was doing these skull crushers, and this jacked up dude walks behind me, and he's like, hey, you didn't know who I was at the time. You're like, hey, that weight needs to disappear behind your head. You're doing them wrong. And I'm like, I was a pretty big dude at the time too. I'm like, this mother, but you know what? I'm like, he looks better than I look. He's got better tries than me. Okay. And every single time, Sam, Every time when I do skull crushers at the gym, I think of Sam, like, get it behind your head, it's got to disappear. So I'm coachable too. We learn from each other. So, I just want to make sure that I've acknowledged that, number one. What did you ask me?
No, I asked you about how you evolved,
Yeah.
with pushing people and be able to still love them and not make them feel so bad.
What I made as a leader, I was a jerk. Now, I was a jerk because I believed in them so much. Like, I see their greatness. I'm like, let's go, right?
Yes.
Like, I see how great you can be. But I like being talked to that way.
Me too.
We're both driver A, like, tell me what to do. Like, I'll do exactly it. Don't hold back. Most people need a little love and sugar.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. Like, just give me the coffee black. I'll drink it straight. People are like, give me some sugar. And what I figured out was, here's what the mistake I was making as a leader. Any of you entrepreneurs out there, I was setting their standard all the time. I had to set a standard for the company. I had to have a culture and my own standard. But the best leaders help people set their own standards. Get them to commit to the higher standard. And what I was doing is I was getting them to try to go to do things they'd not committed to do. I didn't relate. Why don't you want to make $1 million? Why can't you close 30 sales this month? Why don't you want to feed your wife and kids this month? Man, let's go. And I would push them away instead of talking about, you're amazing, you could do this, you could be great at this, set a higher standard. I didn't do that. So that's the switch I've made.
Ed, I remember specifically, I was right in the front. I was watching and listening to everything you said. And you said, I made this much, and it was mid six figures.
Okay.
Mid six figures, you know what I mean? and I go, oh, he made that much last year, that's a lot. And he goes, last month.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, it was like
it's hard to process.
Yeah, it was like the pyramids in Egypt. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I go, what? Like, most people don't make that in a lifetime.
Yeah,
right?
it's funny you say that. That was a technique. I used to say it that way, man. I made $400,000. And then I talk to them and I go, oh, last month. And they go, what? I do that on purpose.
15 years ago, it was in my head still, right? So I was like, how can someone make that? I was like, so that was my standard. That was my gold standard, right?
Yes.
And then then I remember, a guy came up to you. You had a perfect, fitted suit on and all that kind of stuff. And you come up to him and you go, that's a nice suit. And you open it up. Versace makes some nice suits.
Did I really? Golly, dude.
That was you back then, right?
You know what's funny about that too, that just lessons for people? I've spoken in front of collectively millions of people, right? And I remember particular people at specific speaking events. And you've seen me speak multiple times before we were good friends. And it's funny, but you would stand out because some people are kind of listening. You were like, give me it, affect me. I want it. I want to be more like you. I want to learn this. I want to model some of this. Like, you would stand out in the meetings. And that's how I got to know you. At first, I'm like, who is that guy? And then people are like, he's in Chino Hills. He's this successful entrepreneur. And you acted with such humility, confidence. Obviously, your physique and how you dress, confidence, but humility, like, you let other people's success inspire you. You didn't hate on it. You'd model certain things. I've always noticed that about you. Even to this day, you do that.
Ed, when I first went to my first professional bodybuilding, when I was an aspiring bodybuilder, when I went to and I saw like Mike Matarazzo, and you remember Mike Matarazzo?
Huge.
And Porter Cottrell, and they were like, and I was like the aspiring bodybuilder. I was like, oh my God, I need to go back to the gym. I don't even want to be here. I need to work out, man. I don't even want to be here. I want to leave and go to the gym and work out.
Just hit it.
But then I saw there was 3 types of people. There was 3 people in the audience. One of them were saying, oh, well, I wonder how much shit is he taking, right? Then there's there's other guys, well, his upper body is good, but his calves can come up more, you know what I mean? And then there was me that what? I need to go, like, who the hell are you to talk, There's all those critics and all those people that did that, but I was motivated.
You know why you did it, by the way? The other little success clue that I've seen, and just as you said it, I wanted to just acknowledge it, and the higher you climb, the more important this is to find reasons and motivation. It's easy when you're broke to find motivations and reasons. The higher you climb, people lose their steam, they lose their enthusiasm because they don't work as hard at finding a reason to be just as jacked up and motivated. So you were already jacked, but you found a way to get motivated. Look at Michael Jordan used to say, and Kobe's talked about this too, that he would literally say like, hey man, you won 5 championships. Like, what makes you on a Wednesday night in Milwaukee still give your best effort when a lot of dudes in the NBA will dog it on one night? And he goes, you know what, that night in Milwaukee, there's some fan that's the one night of their life they're going to see MJ play.
Yeah.
I got to give him my best. He'd find little ways. Tom Brady has won 6 Super Bowls, right? He's still got that chip on his shoulder for being a 6th-round draft pick. He's still, the reason he's won 6 Super Bowls, and more talented people have only won 1 or 2, when they got their 1, they cooled it. When they got their 2, they cooled it. Brady found other levels of motivation to keep himself at that peak state. That's what you do well.
I appreciate it, man. I learned from the best. Ed, so you talk about the importance of savings.
Yeah.
Because I don't think in this society, you know, everybody wants other people's approval. They want to try to look rich, not be rich. That's something that you taught me a long time ago.
Yeah.
You said, don't look rich, be rich.
Yeah.
How important is that for the younger society that comes up? Because we got the iPhone 15 coming out all the time, and
Yes.
we have this coming out, and I bought into that.
Yep.
When I started making a little bit of success, and we talked about it off camera.
Yep.
You know, I right away, you know, I was making 20 grand a month, but I want to buy the car that had a $5,000 a month car payment. You know what I mean? So 25% of my money was going to the car.
Ferrari.
You know what I mean? To the Ferrari. You know what I mean? You know, and I learned, you know, one thing that you always told me, you know, is that hey, I own everything free and clear.
Yes.
I don't know even if you know that when you bought a house
Yes.
in Villano where I live now,
Cash.
You know, I remember that when you had 2 homes, I think,
Yeah,
cash.
I
there.
did.
You
I did.
bought- yeah. So I remember I tried to buy a home there. And I thought I was the man at the time, you know, because I had a $500,000 saved up, and I was like, I'm the man. I'm going to buy this house. So I went up there. I'm like, I didn't get a mansion like you had. I just wanted a tract home there, right?
Yeah.
And the smallest one was like 1.6. I said, okay, I'm gonna give you $500,000. I'm the man. Who has $500,000, right? You know. And then I got outbid by everybody cash. I got outbid cash.
You're like, hey.
And I'm going like.
New
dude,
level.
Like I'm nobody. I literally put my tail and I went back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
I went back to work. And a few years later I came, bought the mansion.
And bought the mansion cash.
You know?
Did you pay cash for that place?
I paid cash.
That's
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
Sam.
yeah.
I think you had told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I'm afraid of being broke.
Yeah, me too.
By the way, and I'm like today, I'm afraid of being broke.
Me too.
People go, that's not true. That just got you. No, brother. I'm afraid of being broke. Like I live here, oceanfront cash. We're not just being open.
This is what is that, about 20, 30 million
Yeah,
home.
absolutely. Cash. My lake house is worth more than this house.
God, don't even tell me that.
Yeah.
'Cause that's going to be another pyramid that I can't
You know,
comprehend.
no, you get that. My jet is cash. My cars are all cash. The house I'm building in the desert is cash. My mother-in-law's house is cash. Everybody's is cash, right? So I pay cash. That doesn't mean everything you buy should be cash. I get leverage. Money's cheap. Nothing wrong with borrowing money on appreciating assets. The thing that I would not recommend you do is borrow money on a depreciating asset like a car or a dinner. But if you borrow money on something that you believe is going to go up like a piece of real estate, I have no problem with that at all. And I've done that before. One of the reasons I have lots of cash, I've made money in real estate. So saving is huge. There's a deeper lesson for a dude at your level or someone aspiring. So save. It's where my self-confidence comes from. Let me tell you something. I have a whole lot of friends. I have more friends who used to be rich than are currently rich. Because when they were rich for a while, they kept spending, and now they're broke again. Listen to what I just said. I have more friends who used to be rich than are currently rich. And here's why. You could save, kind of like what you're gonna do with that house. And that takes an unbelievable amount of discipline to save money. So that's the first discipline. If you just save money, you're in the 1% of most human beings to save any amount of their money. But here's the other thing. Then it's once you get a pile, it's resisting the temptation to blow that pile on one bad move. Though you get your 20 grand and then bam, you buy something you shouldn't. You get your 50 grand, boom, you get your 500. Can you make sure that if you're gonna move that money, that it's investable assets, not spending the money? Investments are things that you think will return more money to you, real estate, things like that. I'm not allowed with my license to recommend specific investments, but I can recommend you save money.
Yeah. Now, how important? I know you're a great proponent of working out all the time. You
Sure.
have a routine and all that kind of stuff. How important is that to your success?
It's the anchor. It's the key for me. Yeah, I know. And the reason I would say that it is for me is because it's the thing I can control. I'm not in control whether a client says yes or no. I'm not in control of the stock market or the real estate market. I'm in control of me getting my ass in the gym and going through my entire routine. I'm in control of what I put in my mouth. And the more I start to have this sense of control, self-confidence is the process of keeping the promises you make to yourself.
I love that.
Right? All my confidence comes from the gym. I've never been to the extent, the reason I admire people like yourself, I've never been in the type of shape you've been in at your peak. But for an entrepreneur, all my life, I was a random dude 25 years ago that I read this book called The Corporate Athlete by a guy named Gropel. And his theory was that in the next 20 years, all big entrepreneurs and CEOs are going to become like athletes, and most athletes are going to start to act more like CEOs. You look at a dude like,
Makes sense.
you look at LeBron James, and that dude's a CEO. He's an athlete CEO, right? Tom Brady's a CEO, Peyton Manning's a CEO. And I started acting like an athlete. I train like an athlete. I think like an athlete. It's where all my self-confidence stems from initially, is being in the gym. And even to this day, this morning, this was an early interview, you know, for both of us. And I had a long night last night, and I got up and I got my training in today because I want to keep that promise to myself, because I'm like, okay, I'm in control of at least that every day. So it's huge for me.
You said when your kids were born, it softened you up and it kind of changed your life. I know it was the same for me.
I know it was for you.
You know,
Yeah.
can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the big thing about being a dick earlier that we were talking about, I started to have my babies, and I'm like, if someone ever spoke to my kids the way I speak to some of these people, and then I remember, I'm looking at someone, I'm like, this young man right here, he's someone's son.
Yeah.
You know, he'll be someone's daddy someday.
Yeah.
These are human beings, man, and it changed me. The other thing is, this gives you perspective. It's like, this is what matters. Like, you think I love a piece of metal that flies in the air compared to my only little girl? I just got one daughter. In my case, I got one daughter and one son. So it altered my perception of, you know what, just this isn't all about me. It's pretty egotistical, selfish dude. Still have to fight those temptations every day. I think all successful people financially have a little bit of that ego thing. They always got to keep fighting. I do. But my kids have given me humility and perspective and show me what's important. And the other thing too is, like, you probably have this too. Like, I want to make them proud of me. They got one daddy. You know, I say all the time, you look at your kids, you go to a baseball game or a recital at school, there's 100 kids up there. Who do you see? You see your baby. Imagine for your kids, that's magnetized times 1,000. On this earth, they got one mama, one daddy. They're looking at you all the time, even when they don't act like it.
Because to them, you're dad. You're not Ed Milet.
Heck no.
Right? You know
My
what I mean?
kids could care less, man.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't care. They don't care how many Instagram likes I get or millions of dollars. I'm dad.
I was watching Kobe speak at one event. I was at the same event, and Kobe said that he told his daughter, you know, he was getting dressed up to go to the event, and the daughter was like, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Well, I'm going to go to this conference, talk about leadership." And his daughter said, "What do you have to say about leadership?" To Kobe Bryant.
That's
you
so
know what I mean?
awesome.
And I'm going like, no matter who you are to them, you're just a dad, right? You know,
That makes me feel better, because my kids talk like that all the time. One thing on Kobe, just got to tell you this. I did not know Kobe when he played basketball. And I know that, look, as a young man, he had, you know, he made mistakes in his life, I'm sure. But I got to tell you something, brother. Watching him as a father around those daughters, I'm talking about forget that he ever played basketball. I'm telling you, of all the dads I've been around, he was a standout father. And I learned things from him. I'm just going to share this with you. The last time I saw him, I watched him walk out of the gym the Sunday before they were killed, 6 days before. I watched him walk out of the gym, and it's just weird that I did this. It's kind of creepy. But I actually watched him walk out with his daughter, and he had his little baby in his left arm and his daughter on his right arm, and he was rubbing her back all the way out. And for me as a dad, I went, do I hug Bella enough?
Yeah.
I tell her I love her, but do I hug her enough? What a great example. And man, in terms of life, when he was walking out that door, what if someone would have whispered to him, hey, you have 6 days left to live?
Oh, man.
You would have never conceived that that was possible, right? You have 6 days, bro. He's getting in the car, driving up, you have 6 days. The next day on Monday, you have 5 days left, right? You know, when you begin to look at time differently like that, I think the reason that his passing affected people so much is because he lived so big. But also, you look at your own mortality, and you're like, my gosh, if that could happen to him and his daughter, how much time do I have? How precious is time? So that's how much family does affect us, to your point.
I think that tragedy, you know, made me as a person reevaluate my whole life.
Me too.
Because tomorrow is not promised to anyone. Next hour is not promised to anyone. How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be able to love everybody? Tell them you love them. You know?
And the other thing is what you worry about.
Yeah.
I promise you, when that helicopter started to spin, and I don't even want people to picture that. Do you think he was worried about some email or some bill or some situation? The things we worry about in our life that steal our joy, that in perspective, in time, you're like, is this that big of a deal? So it's not only getting in a hurry to want to win and make our dreams come true, it's also like, hey, give yourself a little bit of a break, man. Like, what are you worried about all the time? Like, this stuff's going to go away someday.
Well, you know, you became who you are because you were afraid of being broke.
Yeah.
You were broke. I was broke. You know, you said, you know, your house was foreclosed on.
Yep.
Your car got repossessed.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Water
you know,
turned
you
off.
had a Velcro Mercedes. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
You know, you've gone through all those craziness because you wanted to win. You were like, you know what? I never want to be broke.
Yep.
To this day, you're a Santo millionaire many times, and
Yep.
you're still like, I don't want to be broke.
I don't.
That's your driver. You know,
Yep.
for me, the same. Kind of the same story.
Yes.
But here's something that I struggle with, and I really, truly want your opinion on this because this is something that I was like, I can't wait to ask Ed about this. How do you instill that in your children when your children live here?
Yeah.
When your children get on a jet?
Yeah.
When my children is like, well, Daddy, like I don't like the Ferrari. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I'm
Yes.
like, what? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yep.
so how do you instill? How do you give them enough, but not so much that they don't lose their drive?
You've hit on the number one issue in my life that I worry about.
Yeah.
Number one issue, and anybody that I talk to that's had any means, if they're a good person, that's what they worry about. So I do worry about that. I've done a pretty good job, I think I do, at them connecting all of this stuff to work. Like I'm constantly reminding them. Here's the thing. One thing my kids have grown up in is luxury. They see their dad bust his ass every single day. Like I'm after it. They get like to have, and I not only do I crush it,
Yeah.
I'm constantly pointing it out to them. I've a million times linked all of this to work, all of it, and to serving other people. So I think those of you that have kids, one, you shouldn't give them too much. You got to be very careful about that. They best see you working. A lot of us become successful. All of a sudden, we're sitting around. A lot of us have become successful prior to our kids, or when their kids are little. And then they get to that age. I watch a lot of buddies of mine. All of a sudden, now they're sitting around the house in their sweatpants at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. That ain't how they got rich.
Yeah.
So I have an obligation as a dad. People are like, why are you after it at 50 years old almost, all this cash saved? I got kids that still watch me every day.
Yeah, so
if they
true.
think that
So
you get
true.
this by watching, you know, Dr. Phil at 2 o'clock
So
in the
true.
afternoon. So I have to show them, and then I'm pointing it out. This is while we work. And then my wife is great at going, Daddy's helping people. So we gave it a context where Daddy's helping people. So when people say, where's your dad? My kids repeat this. If I'm not here and kids come over, Christiana go, someone was asking Bella where you were, and she goes, oh, he's out helping people. So they've connected it to helping people and work. And then having even said all that, it is difficult. My son, you know, just took a golf scholarship. This is unusual. I didn't go on any of the trips with him. He flew commercial. He got his own Uber when he landed. He had to check into his own hotel. He was in these strange cities alone at 17 years old. People are like, are you crazy? I want him to have independence. I want them to have hard things. Like, so you may think, oh, that's really hard. Well, yeah, you know, you're 17. You fly to Missouri in the middle of the winter. You don't know a soul there. I want him to have to do things that are difficult, that are grown-up adult things that I could have thrown him on my jet. I could have gone with him. I could have helped him pick the schools. I could have told him where I wanted him to go. It's his life. It's his decisions. So I'm constantly, Sam, last thing, I don't do things for them that they could do for themselves. So when he's asking me, hey, Dad, which school should I pick? I'm like, well, you're picking.
Yeah.
It's your life. It's your future. I'll give you a counsel for what I would do. But a lot of people sort of dominate their kids when they're successful too. When you're successful, especially male figures, we're dominant.
Yeah.
And then we tend to become dominant with our children, and guess what? Our children then
rebel.
become passive.
Yeah.
So many of my male friends that are successful, when I meet their sons particularly, he's passive.
Yeah.
You know, you made him that way with your dominance. So I try to reduce my dominance in the household and allow them to assert their independence. That's a big thing for me.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. You know, I've learned to be a trusted advisor to my children.
Perfect.
You know,
Perfect.
I'm an advisor. I can advise them, but I
Yep.
won't tell them what to do.
Very good.
You know, so
Very good.
thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Now you achieved so much. You have an obligation to show your children what you do right now by going out there helping people and still go out there. Like you said, you're not on Wednesday, you're not in your pajamas and
Right.
hanging out and kicking it, right? You know what I mean? But what drives you now at this time? You're almost 50 years old. Like I said, you're Santo millionaire many times over.
Yeah.
You got everything in life. You know, what drives you personally right now?
Yeah.
To because I know you're obsessed, just like me,
I am.
to becoming the best version of yourself. You want to be better today than you were tomorrow. Tomorrow you want to be better than today.
Yeah.
But what drives you to do that?
Yeah.
At this age.
My standards drive me. So I don't want to be average and ordinary. The average is disgusting to me. I hate it.
Hallelujah.
So why the heck would I go spend 20 years of trying to not be average than be average? So what mainly drives me is I want to do something great with my life. I want to have the experiences. I feel like God's given me such a great platform and callings that I want to make a difference for other people. I know how cool it is. I know what it's like to look in a mirror and not like myself. And then I know later in life what it's like to look in that mirror and go, hey, I'm kind of proud of you, man. You know, you haven't made it yet, but good job so far. I know what that feels like. It's one of the greatest feelings in the world. The other part of it is, you know, I have this really bizarre, freakish thing I think happens when you die. I'm a Christian. I want the Lord to go, well done, good and faithful servant. But I think he then goes, by the way, let me introduce you to the man that I made in my image and likeness. This is the man you are capable of being. Right here. I want you to meet him. This is the experiences, the places, the help, the memories, the moments, the confidence, all the achievements. This man that I made you to be right here, this is who he is. And when I meet him, I want it to be we're identical twins. Yeah. To me, that's heaven.
Yes.
Hell would be you'd meet this man or woman you're capable of, and you go, we're total strangers.
You want to live to your full potential.
Yeah. We total strangers would be hell. So there's an end to my life coming. I don't know if it's in 24 hours, 24 years, or 40 years. But I have a feeling I'm going to meet who I was capable of coming. Yeah. And when I meet him, I want to have, no pun intended, I want to have maxed out my life in the memories, the contribution, the difference I've made, how I feel about myself, my faith, my family. I want to have that. To me, that's heaven. Hell is like, man, we're just strangers. So most of the days, Sam, not all of the days, but most of the days, my decisions are, is this getting me closer to that guy or not? Yeah. And that's sort of how I try to live my life. Yeah. Most days, not every day. I screw up, but most days.
Yeah, man. That is so good. I remember one of our Arata meetings.
Yeah.
You know, you and Andy talk about discipline equals happiness.
Yes.
And when I heard that, I'm like, wow. Because happiness for me is getting up 3 o'clock in the morning.
It is.
Happiness for me is hitting the gym first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, what are you going to stop? You know, even like on off days, I'm like, I can't have an off day because I'm not happy sitting on the couch.
Me too.
And I thought I was just this weird guy.
You're not weird, brother. And that's why it's so important to join groups like Arate.
Yeah.
And I say groups like, I think there's only one, which is ours, Arate. But at least to get around people that are like-minded because they make you not think you're crazy. Yeah. Right? And if I look back on my life, the times I've been the most undisciplined are the times I'm the least happy.
Same.
Yes.
So same.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
You know, it's weird because now, I'm married, have kids, and, my wife likes to, for her language of love is every once in a while sitting down on the couch and watching Netflix. There's nothing wrong with that.
Me too. So is mine.
With nothing wrong with that. Every once in a while, but I need to have that on a schedule. You know what I mean?
When are we doing this?
Like, can we do it on Wednesday? She's like, you can't just relax and just watch Netflix. I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm sitting out here. I'm like,
that's because you're special, bro.
Yeah.
You're special. And and you just are. That's why I'm attracted to you. But you know my favorite thing? By the way, we watch Netflix. My favorite thing is to watch, you think I'm stupid, but my favorite thing is I do like doing that with my wife. After I've like crushed the day.
Exactly.
I've just crushed the day and I'm like, all right, bam, right? I love that feeling.
Yes.
You know, I'm a glass of wine or whatever, some tequila with my wife, I drink. You don't have to drink. But like, if I haven't had a big day and then I watch Netflix, I feel like a curmudgeonly fat ass loser, watching. I can't even enjoy it.
Well, I get it. You have to crush the day first.
Yes.
You have to crush the day. You're like, okay, this is a treat.
Exactly.
You know
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Well, Ed, man, thank you so much for being on the show, bro. I appreciate you, man. Like I said,
I love you.
You know,
brother.
you were a mentor to me before you were a mentor to me.
Mutual.
You know what I mean? And I really appreciate you. And
Skull crushers, you got to drop the weight behind your head.
Thank you so much for your time, brother.
All right, brother. Love you.
Thank you. Love you too.
Hey guys, if you like today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.